Wishing is the softest form of ambition because it lets a man feel close to a better life without forcing him to pay the price for it. A wish asks nothing from your body. It does not demand an early morning, a hard conversation, a finished project, a controlled appetite, a focused hour, or a sacrifice made while nobody is watching. It gives the mind a pleasant image and calls that image hope. Work is different. Work takes the image and drags it into the dirt, where it must survive time, boredom, embarrassment, resistance, and the ugly first version of effort. That is why people prefer wishing. Wishing protects the ego. Work exposes it. A man can wish for a better body while eating like a prisoner of appetite. He can wish for more money while avoiding the skill that would make him valuable. He can wish for respect while living in ways that quietly make him respect himself less. The wish feels clean because it remains untouched by reality. The work feels brutal because reality answers back. A better life does not care how badly you want it. That sentence offends the dreamer because desire has become his favorite evidence. He thinks wanting something deeply should count for something. It does not count enough. Hunger matters only when it becomes movement. The world is full of people who want freedom, wealth, strength, love, peace, confidence, status, and purpose. Yet their days remain arranged around comfort, distraction, impulse, and delay. Their desire is real, but their structure is false. A man must understand this clearly. Your life is not built by what you want. It is built by what you repeat. A wish may reveal direction, but repetition creates destination. If the daily pattern does not match the dream is decoration. The body listens to training, not longing. Money listens to value, not fantasy. Skill listens to practice, not identity. Respect listens to behavior, not explanation. The dangerous part of wishing is how respectable it can sound inside your own head. It does not always appear as laziness. Sometimes it appears as planning. Sometimes it appears as waiting for the right season. It wears the mask of self-awareness and says you need more clarity before beginning. It tells you to research longer, heal longer, prepare longer, think longer, feel ready longer, organize longer, and wait until your life becomes less complicated. Meanwhile, the work remains untouched. A man can spend months improving the language around his dream, while doing almost nothing that would make the dream real. The mind loves this because talking about change gives emotional relief. Planning change gives relief. Watching content about change gives relief. None of it builds proof unless action follows. Relief is not progress. A comfortable feeling after thinking about your future is not the same as earning that future. Every serious result has a boring mechanical truth underneath it. A body changes through repeated training, controlled food, sleep, and time. A business grows through offers, service, feedback, sales, improvement, and consistency. A sharp mind forms through reading, thinking, writing, focus, and difficult practice. Confidence rises when you keep promises under pressure and gather evidence that your word has weight. Peace comes when your actions stop betraying your standards. None of these things are mysterious. The problem is that the simple path insults the part of the mind that wants transformation to feel dramatic. Work often looks too plain to satisfy the ego. The ego wants a grand awakening. Reality wants obedience to the next task. One page, one set, one call, 1 hour, one saved pound, one clean meal, one honest correction. That is how the future is built, brick by brick, without caring whether the builder feels inspired. A man who only wishes eventually becomes bitter, because reality keeps refusing to reward his private imagination. He starts looking at others with resentment. He sees their body, their money, their discipline, their output, their freedom, their calm, and he tells himself they had some advantage he was denied. Maybe some did. Advantages exist. Uneven starts exist. Luck exists, yet after enough years, the more painful truth begins to show. Some people simply worked while he wished. They moved while he waited. They became useful while he stayed theoretical. They accepted the embarrassment of being a beginner while he protected the fantasy of hidden greatness. That bitterness is poison because it lets him blame the evidence instead of reading it. Other people's results should not make you resentful. They should make you precise. Ask what behaviors produced what you are looking at, then decide whether you are willing to pay the same price. Work changes you before it changes your results, and that is why it matters more than the wish. At first, the outside may look the same. The mirror may not change. The bank account may not move much. The skill may still feel clumsy. The project may still look small. Yet something underneath begins hardening. You become the kind of person who no longer needs emotional permission to begin. You start trusting yourself because you have seen yourself act under resistance. Your identity shifts from someone who dreams loudly to someone who moves quietly. That internal change is the foundation. Results often arrive later, after the mind has already been rebuilt by repetition. The world sees the outcome and calls it success. The man who earned it knows the real victory happened earlier, in the private moments where he stopped negotiating and did the work anyway. A wish gives you a destination, but work gives you a map through feedback. Until you act, your dream remains vague. You do not know where you are truly weak. You do not know what skill is missing. You do not know what the market wants. You do not know how your body responds. You do not know how fragile your focus is. You do not know which fear has been controlling you. Action reveals all of it. The first attempt may be ugly, and that ugliness is valuable because it gives you something to correct. A man who works badly can improve. A man who never works can only preserve an image. The first workout shows your condition. The first draft shows your voice. The first offer shows the customer's reaction. The first disciplined week shows where your system breaks. This is not failure. This is intelligence gathered from the battlefield. The work must become smaller than your excuses and heavier than your mood. Do not wait for some perfect heroic state. Cut a dream into actions so plain that the old self has no room to hide. Want to become fit? Train today, walk today, eat properly today, sleep on time today. Want to build money? Learn a valuable skill today, create something today, contact someone today, track spending today. Want a sharper mind? Read 10 pages today, write one clear idea today, remove one distraction today, sit in silence today. The word today is where fantasy gets judged. Anyone can respect a dream in the future. The serious man obeys the task in the present. If the action is too large, reduce it until movement begins. Once movement begins, increase the weight. Momentum is not found. Momentum is built. A life of wishing keeps your self-respect weak because deep down you know the difference between hope and effort. You may fool other people with explanations, but you cannot fully fool yourself. Some quiet part of you sees the skipped sessions, the delayed work, the soft excuses, the repeated promises, the hours handed to distraction, the standards lowered again. That hidden witness is why confidence fades. Confidence is not lost because life is hard. It is lost when the inner witness keeps seeing you abandon the mission. Work repairs that relationship. Each completed task tells the witness that command is returning. Each private victory gives your word more weight. Each return after failure proves the old pattern is no longer absolute. The wish makes you feel good for a moment. Work makes you trust yourself again. Do not confuse working for suffering. Work is not punishment. It is the bridge between the life you have and the life you claim to want. The weak mind hears work and thinks only of pain, boredom, sacrifice, and pressure. A stronger mind hears work and recognizes freedom being built in advance. Training today is freedom from a body that limits you later. Saving today is freedom from panic later. Learning today is freedom from dependence later. Focus today is freedom from regret later. Discipline today is freedom from being ruled by impulse later. The price is paid either way. One man pays through effort now, another pays through disappointment later. The difference is that effort can buy dignity. Regret buys nothing.
The mind has a filthy little trick it plays when the future becomes attractive. It lets you taste the reward before you have earned the result. You sit there thinking about the body, the money, the respect, the freedom, the finished project, the room finally looking at you differently, and the nervous system begins paying you in advance. A pleasant warmth enters the chest. The future starts feeling close. For a few minutes, you are not the man who avoided the work. You are the man who could become dangerous. That feeling is seductive because it costs nothing. No sweat, no rejection, no risk, no boredom, no humiliation, no ugly first attempt. The brain gives you a small chemical reward for the image alone. And if you are not careful, that reward becomes enough. The mind celebrates the dream so early that the body never receives the command to build it. This is the self-deceptive default. The future enters your head as a movie, and the movie becomes more emotionally satisfying than the first task. A man thinks about starting the business, and in his mind he already sees independence, status, income, freedom, and escape from ordinary life. Another thinks about becoming fit, and within seconds he sees the lean body, the respect, the confidence, the clothes fitting properly, the quiet envy in other people's eyes. Someone else thinks about mastering a skill, and the fantasy skips straight to recognition, mastery, and effortless execution. Notice the crime. The mind jumps over the middle. It avoids the boring repetitions, the weak first version, the slow progress, the frustration, the correction, the months where nothing looks impressive. The reward arrives in imagination while the work remains untouched in reality. That is how a dream becomes a drug. Thinking feels productive because it creates internal movement. The mind is active. The images are vivid. The emotions are strong. Plans begin forming. Possibilities multiply. For a short while, the man feels like he is getting closer, yet not one external condition has changed. The body remains the same. The bank account remains the same. The skill remains undeveloped. The project remains unwritten. The offer remains unsent. The conversation remains avoided. This is the difference between mental stimulation and actual progress. Stimulation gives the sensation of movement. Progress leaves evidence behind. A page written, a session completed, a message sent, a meal controlled, a pound saved, a product built, a fear confronted. Evidence is the only language reality respects. A dangerous pattern begins when the brain keeps receiving emotional payment from future fantasies. The man starts returning to the fantasy whenever life feels dull, heavy, or disappointing. Instead of working toward the goal, he visits the goal mentally for relief. The dream becomes a place to hide from the current life rather than a command to change it. After a weekday, he thinks about who he will become. After wasting time, he watches content that makes him feel ambitious again. Following another broken promise, he tells himself the future is still waiting. The fantasy becomes a private drug den where he can feel powerful without becoming powerful. That is why the deception is so effective. It does not feel like failure. It feels like hope. The body eventually learns the wrong lesson. Desire becomes associated with comfort rather than effort. Thinking about the goal becomes the ritual, not pursuing it. The mind reaches for inspiration the way another man reaches for sugar. It wants the feeling, not the fight. This is why some people keep collecting motivational content, business ideas, training plans, productivity systems, and life-changing concepts while their actual life remains painfully familiar. They are not lacking information. They are overdosing on the emotional reward of possibility. Another video gives them the feeling of readiness. Another plan gives them the feeling of control. Another conversation gives them the feeling of momentum. Nothing gets built because the nervous system has already been paid. A serious man breaks this loop by refusing to let fantasy remain open-ended. The moment a goal appears, he attaches it to action quickly. Not tomorrow, not after another hour of thinking. Immediately, a future body becomes today's training session. A future business becomes today's offer, message, product, or research task. A future skill becomes today's focus practice. A future life becomes today's removed distraction. The mind is not allowed to sit there feeding on the image for hours. The image gets converted into a command. This matters because action interrupts the drug. It forces the nervous system to leave reward and enter cost. The fantasy says, "One day." The command says, "Now in what form?" There is nothing wrong with vision when vision serves execution. A man needs direction. He needs a target. He needs to know what kind of life he is building and what kind of person must be forged to carry it. The poison begins when vision replaces movement. A target is useful only when it changes how you behave today. If the dream does not alter the next hour, it is not a strategy. It is entertainment. A true vision reorganizes the calendar, cuts habits, changes sleep, forces training, demands learning, and humiliates distractions. A fake vision makes you feel deep while leaving your routines untouched. The difference is plain. One produces pressure, the other produces pleasure. Pressure builds. Pleasure without work sedates. The reason this matters is harsh. Life does not punish you for dreaming, it punishes you for using dreams as anesthesia. Years can disappear while a person remains emotionally attached to a future he never constructs. He still believes in the goal. He still talks about the goal. He still thinks about the goal. Yet belief without behavior slowly rots into self-disgust. Some part of him knows the truth. The goal was never abandoned officially, but it was starved daily. That hidden knowledge becomes heavy. It shows up as fatigue, irritation, jealousy, restlessness, and the quiet shame that follows another day of private betrayal. The dream was not killed by enemies. It was fed images instead of work. The cure is plain enough to offend the part of you addicted to complexity. Do not spend long periods enjoying the fantasy. Define the outcome, then cut it into work. Decide the next physical action, then perform it before the mind turns the goal into a movie again. Want strength? Train today. Want money? Build value today. Need confidence? Keep one difficult promise today. Want clarity? Remove one distraction and sit with the task today. Desire must be given a job quickly, or it becomes a parasite. The moment it has no job, it starts consuming attention and producing nothing. Give the desire a shovel. Put it in the dirt. Make it work for the future it keeps showing you. Somewhere in your 20s, usually without any announcement or visible moment of surrender, the people around you begin to quietly stop believing in themselves. And the strange, painful part is that you can watch it happen in real time while being completely powerless to stop it. There is no ceremony to it. No day when your friend declares that he is officially giving up on the life he once talked about with fire in his eyes. Instead, it seeps in gradually, a slow leaking of ambition that neither of you names while it is happening. 1 year he is telling you about the thing he is going to build, and a few years later he flinches when you bring up your own plans, and the distance between those two versions of him opened so slowly that he never noticed he was sliding. You will be one of the only people positioned to see it clearly, and you will learn the hard truth that watching someone abandon themselves does not give you the power to stop them. The signs are small and easy to miss until you know what you are looking for, and then suddenly they are everywhere, scattered through ordinary conversations like tells in a poker game. It shows up in the uncomfortable laugh when you mention a goal, that little exhale of dismissal that is not quite mockery but is not support either, the laugh of someone protecting himself from a hope he has already abandoned. It surfaces in the phrase, "must be nice," delivered with an edge that reveals more than the speaker intends, a flash of something threatened underneath the words, because your ambition reminds him of the one he buried. You hear it in the way his sentences start with, "I would," but every dream prefaced by the excuse that kills it. And you notice how every complaint arrives without the faintest interest in a solution. The problem stated not to be solved but to be marinated in. These are not random verbal habits. They are the visible symptoms of a belief system that has quietly collapsed. What makes this dangerous is that despair is contagious in a way you do not consciously register, transmitted through tone and repetition and the slow normalizing of low expectations, so that spending enough time around people who have given up begins to lower the ceiling of what you believe is possible for yourself. You do not catch their resignation through one dramatic conversation. You absorb it through 1,000 small exposures. Each cynical comment and deflated response sanding down your own conviction a little more until the impossible starts to feel reasonable, and the reasonable starts to feel arrogant. There must be nice works on you over time, planting a quiet doubt that maybe wanting more really is naive. Maybe you should lower your sights to match theirs. Maybe the dream you carry is the embarrassing thing they keep implying it is. This matters enormously because your environment is shaping your beliefs whether you consent to it or not, and an environment full of surrendered people is an environment actively working to make you surrender too. The reason this can change the entire trajectory of your life comes down to how belief functions as the engine beneath all sustained effort. Because no one keeps working toward a goal he has stopped believing is reachable, and the people around you are slowly eroding exactly that belief. Self-belief in your 20s is fragile, not yet proven by results, held together more by faith than by evidence, which makes it acutely vulnerable to the doubt that surrounds it. When everyone you know treats your ambition as foolish, the faith required to keep going gets harder to maintain, and the temptation to abandon the path before it has had time to bear fruit grows stronger with every discouraging exchange. The ones who make it are not the ones with the most talent or the best circumstances. They are the ones who manage to protect their belief through the years when it had nothing but faith to stand on, who refused to let the surrounding resignation infect the one thing that kept them moving. Lose the belief and the effort dies with it, and the effort was everything. You have to understand why the people pulling you down are doing it. Not to hate them, but to inoculate yourself against them. because their behavior is rarely malicious, and almost always a defense mechanism dressed up as realism. When you pursue something they gave up on, you become a living reminder of their own surrender, an uncomfortable mirror reflecting back the road they chose not to take. And the easiest way to quiet that discomfort is to pull you down to their level, rather than face the question of why they stopped climbing. It is not that they want you to fail exactly. It is that your success would force them to confront their own choice to quit, and dragging you down is less painful than examining themselves.